the Committee on Finance, Subcommittee I, is hereby called to order. And we now proceed with the matters at hand. Um, as we all know, the agenda for today is the proposed 2026 budget of the Department of Foreign Affairs and its attached agencies, apat yun, at pati na rin ang Southern Philippines Development Authority. Nandito ba si Manong Jerry? Nasa holding room. So yung DFA lang ang narito sa kwartong to. Okay, maraming salamat. At nananawagan tayo kay Attorney Dana Alberto, ang Legislative Committee COMSEC, to acknowledge the presence of our resource persons who are here today. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
The Committee on Finance Subcommittee, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our distinguished guests, namely, from the Department of Foreign Affairs, we have Secretary Maria Teresa P. Lazaro, Undersecretary Maria Ellen B. De La Vega, Undersecretary Maria Teresa B. Dizon de Vega, Assistant Secretary Ezedin H. Tago, Deputy Undersecretary Zaldi B. Patron, Assistant Secretary Ana Marie L. Hernando, Assistant Secretary Maria Teresa T. Almahuela, Assistant Secretary Marshal Louis M. Alferez, Assistant Secretary Anne Halandoon Luis, Assistant Secretary Robespierre T. Bolivar, Assistant Secretary Christopher B. Montero, Assistant Secretary Emilio T. Fernandez, Assistant Secretary H. J. Celine Quintana, from the Foreign Service Institute, we have Executive Director Indira C. Bañares. From the UNESCO National Commission of the Philippines Secretariat, Deputy Executive Director Lindsay A. Barrientos. From the Technical Cooperation Council of the Philippines, we have Chair Alternate Maria Andrelita S. Austria. From the Presidential Commission on Visiting Forces, we have Undersecretary Antonio Atanasio A. Habulan. That will be all, Senator Marcos. Thank you.
Yes, maraming salamat. Hence, we start with the budget for foreign affairs. Medyo late ang pag-submit kasi ng mga papeles, pasensya. Kaya medyo nahirapan kami. Ganun pa man, andito ang ating mga tinitignan, no? So apparently overall, if I'm correct, is there a presentation, Secretary Lazaro, please? Or tuloy-tuloy, diretso na tayo?
Actually, Your Honor, we have a presentation, but this is something that we have shown this to you a few weeks back.
That's correct. It's the
But
same. It's no
the same.
major change.
Yeah, yes, done.
Oo, sige.
We can go straight.
So we can go ahead.
Your
Unless
Honor,
you want to
thank
highlight something, are there any new salient points that we need to learn about?
None whatsoever, Your Honor.
Oo, pareho lang eh.
Yeah.
Oo, so ganun pala eh. Okay, that being the case, let's proceed. There appears to be a not quite 8% addition, is this correct? Overall? So from 2025, 27.611 plus, it's now 29.807 billion. Tama po ba? So there appears to be an addition largely encompassed by SSL. Diba salary adjustments ang karamihan? Wala namang major dagdag ang pagkaintindi ko. So, yes. Yes, I think the greater interest among my colleagues will involve policy questions. So in your submissions, as well as in your repeated appearances in the Senate, the Secretary has repeatedly asserted the DFA's desire to engage China and other stakeholders in the West Philippine Sea and the South China Sea in pursuing effective diplomacy, meaningful dialogue, pragmatic approaches, and other peaceful means. So just as an update by way of information, what is the status of the negotiations on the Code of Conduct in the West Philippine Sea. What's stalling the negotiations and what are the courses of action given that this has taken so long? What is it now? Is it 20 years? 2002 pa yata yung dati? Asa na ba tayo?
Actually, Your Honor, it's approaching. It's just like the DOC, it's approaching about the same time. But if I just give a perspective, Your Honor, in 2023, it was the decision of the ASEAN foreign ministers that this code of conduct be be I mean the product itself should be finished by 2026, which is 3 years, and therefore that is we consider this ASEAN China Code of Conduct as a deliverable, hopefully by ASEAN for our
Why do
during
we
our
need
chairship.
another 3 years?
That
Dahil naalala ko there was a date given. I'm not certain if it was 2023. A date was given, August 2023.
correct.
And we were all expecting it. What happened? I
Well,
think
they gave us 3 years, Your Honor.
Who gave us?
The foreign ministers, ASEAN foreign ministers.
Yes, that was the agreement kasi hindi magkasundo.
Hindi-
There
hindi
were some
magkasundo.
who were very legalista and wanted all the details, and there were others who wanted broad strokes. Is that the general
Well,
consensus?
just to give a succinct view of this, there were actually 4 milestone issues.
Okay.
It's the legality, whether this is legally binding or not. Second is the scope, the geographical scope. The third is actually whether the relationship between the declaration of conduct and the code of conduct. What is the relationship? And the fourth is actually,
What is the declaration versus the code of conduct? Ba?
well, the declaration of conduct, which was in 2002, is non-binding. It just really merely says that
It was a declaration.
it was
yeah?
just a
So the
declaration.
declaration was the one is referred to as the one in 202. The
That's
only
correct.
one we have, as a
That's
matter of
this
fact.
the only thing we
Right.
have, Your Honor. So what is the relationship? There is a lot of discussions on this. And the fourth one are the terms of reference. Example, what do you mean by self-restraint? These are issues that have been in discussions for quite some time. Now,
What's the likelihood of it's actually getting finished on the self-imposed deadline of 2026?
to be
Is there anything that's going to happen that's going to suddenly magically allow us to have a code of conduct?
well, the next meeting, Your Honor, will be in Beijing, and I think this is the month of November, and we're hoping that, of course, hope springs eternal, that there will be something that will come out to it. But however, we are still of the view during our chairship, but we haven't discussed this
What's the
with our-
Philippine position?
The Philippine position is one.
Is it enforceable?
It should be legally
Binding.
binding.
Okay, and the geographical scope?
That's still something that we're also looking into.
Okay, and how do we see what is this relationship of the DOC versus COC?
Well, we're of the view that the code of conduct is definitely different in the sense that the DOC was just a mere declaration.
Right.
So it's still the
And how do we, as Filipinos, define self-restraint?
there are various definitions of
Kaya
self-restraint.
nga eh. But what's ours? Do we more or less have some kind of negotiating position?
Yes, we do, Your Honor. Let me just. I think the self-restraint is something which is. Basically, Your Honor, that the parties will not take any action whatsoever. But it's the whole gamut of discussions on this. And well, China has also its own definition.
Yes, and what is that? Because then you proceed to the definition of the actions. What will actions encompass?
Well, it's what is happening right now in our waters, the certain collisions, certain the things that the situation that is
Oo.
happening now. So this is something that that has the whole ASEAN has different definitions of self-restraint. Members of the ASEAN
Yes,
member states.
understood. So,
So-
no, I think we have, if you have further studies on the four issues, perhaps you can share with us in the event that it's asked. I
Mm.
suspect between us girls that in fact there will be more questions about policy than your actual budget at the plenary. So let's just be over prepared
Mhm.
with the hope that we'll have all the answers. Okay, in the past, the Philippines was keen on filing diplomatic protests every time there was an incident in the West Philippine Sea. Is this still the case? Is this all we can do? File diplomatic protests? For example, in the last 12 months, how many of these notes verbal have we issued? And what are the practical effects of this barrage of protests? Is there an alternative? I know that in the past, the secretary has said that bicameral and regular meetings with the China officials is always in order, in addition to the protests. Pero in the meantime, nung nakaraang taon, nakailang protesta na ba tayo na note verbal?
Your Honor, to be exact, we have actually 223 diplomatic protests
Teka, within the year lang?
within this is
Within
for
1 year lang?
I'm sorry, this for 2025, sorry. It's we have 25. Actually, the latest one was just
Yeah, a few days
just
ago.
today.
My mistake, today?
I'm sorry. This is updated.
So I'm sorry, it's 47 and we just-
2025.
2025 is 47. A total since 2022 is 245. And Your Honor, the latest diplomatic protest is
Mm-mm.
what just happened recently
That's
in
right.
Bajo de Masinloc.
The collision.
Yes. To your question on what is really the effect, I would say that these are this is really rather a coordination between the concerned security agencies and the Department of Foreign Affairs. The National Maritime Council is also
Is there any practical effect?
practical effect, probably not now, but in
Right.
a later situation.
So you're
Um,
saying it's by way of publication to the rest of the agencies involved?
No, it is actually the security agencies give us
The
the
information.
information and all the details, and then that is the basis of our the protest that we give that we give to the Chinese embassy.
And in addition to this, for example, in the last collision, day before yesterday, I believe, what will we do in addition to the protest, the usual note verbal? Ano pa magagawa natin?
Your Honor, we've been discussing this issue lengthily during meetings with the security agencies. There are other proposals, but probably I can give it to you in a confidential manner.
Okay.
Yes.
But of course, like most Filipinos, the senators are all very frustrated by the single effort of note verbal to no practical or significant or visible effect. Hence, we'd like to know what the other alternatives are. What else can we do? You have said in the past that bilaterals and constant dialogue is the answer. We know that, but is there anything else that we can do? So perhaps that's what we need to answer, because this will inevitably be asked, I believe.
Yes, Your Honor, we are ready, but this is in collaboration with other concerned government agencies.
So what are the concrete ways by which the DFA engages China? I know that you have regular ministerial meetings.
That's
What
correct.
else are there? And there are the ASEAN multilaterals. What else are there?
Well, I have mentioned that in the past, and you've taken note of it about the bilateral consultative mechanism. We have also the foreign ministry consultations, the bilateral consultative mechanism on the South China Sea. So these are all issues that are
How often is
concerning.
that? That's regular,
That's
di ba?
supposed to be twice a year. We held the first for this year. It was held in Xiamen, and I attended it myself.
Okay.
Now we're looking at
The
another
ministerial
meeting.
meeting is
The ministerial meeting is about the same times, usually back to back. And then, Your Honor, we also have meetings on consular consultations, which was just held about a month or 2 months ago, July
I see.
actually, to be exact. And that consular consultations is really very important to stress out a good number of issues that may be irritants as of now, but can become big issues in the future.
okay. The foreign ministerial meeting is strictly ASEAN or involves a larger group
The
with the
bilateral,
Asia Pacific?
the
The foreign
the foreign, it's
ministerial.
bilateral.
It's just bilateral
Bilateral.
also.
What I mentioned are
Oh,
just
I
all
thought these
bilateral
are all
mechanisms.
bilaterals. Okay.
Yes. And then, of course, Your Honor, we have the ASEAN,
Yeah.
ASEAN China. We have the EAS, East Asia Summit, and we have the ARF, the ASEAN Regional Forum.
Okay. Forum.
Which
And
we will
how
all.
often is that? The East
That's
Asian Summit is
It's once a year, usually during the ministerial meeting and post-ministerial conference. And
Okay.
for when we chair next year, that will be sometime in July.
okay. We're also aware that through your efforts and the dialogues that have been undertaken by the DFA with the Chinese counterparts, the RORE have been far less turbulent and problematic and been quite smooth. So we congratulate you. Can the DFA cite other positive results from all these dialogues you've undertaken? Are these dialogues actually working? I know it bore fruition in terms of the RORE. Is there anything else we can look forward to?
Your Honor, I can just cite an example on the RORE particularly. There had been certain discussions also on the number of ships, the distance between the vessels to that of the Sierra Madre, and the tonnage. There's a constant review of the discussions based on the provisional understanding, which is the one that is really carrying the RORE.
So the constant review is as it says, constant and continuing. Okay, so
Your Honor, sorry, but I
yes.
just want to add the bilateral consultative mechanism has also a Coast Guard component,
Ah.
and hopefully there will be uh, a conclusion of the Coast Guard, the Philippine Coast Guard and the Chinese Coast
What do you
Guard.
mean by conclusion?
There is some kind of an MOU
I see.
for them to on certain issues that involve them. And we also have pending is something on the oceanographic, the ocean meteorology cooperation, and this is under the OST.
Does this have to do with the exploration that's being revived by
Ah,
Manny Pangalinan's group?
No, Your Honor.
Iba pa yun?
Iba pa ho to.
Kasi parang revive nila yung dating usapin ni Secretary Locsin.
That's true. But this is different.
Yun entirely private na yun.
Yes.
Kasi dati hindi siya totally private.
Yes, it's now private, and there are other considerations to the MVP proposal.
I see. Okay. So in an ideal world, the arbitral ruling should have been enforced in all points. However, there is no international mechanism for this, as we all understand. Um, are there ways that the DFA can somehow give effect to that ruling?
We have in many of our political consultations, numbering just for this year about 40 plus. There's always a discussion on the arbitral award.
Right.
So well, there are times, there are countries like-minded countries that have resulted to how do you say this, recognizing the arbitral award. There are
Such
some
countries as,
India.
yes, so India. But are there any other claimants that have commented on the arbitral award?
Well,
I mean, Vietnam, Indonesia, the rest, Taiwan.
the again, Vietnam has there is a certain recognition.
Yeah, because they have counterclaims as well.
Yes, Your
Uh,
Honor.
So I was wondering what's the position of the other countries vis-a-vis the arbitral award? And the other question would be, does China continue to maintain its hardline stance that it is illegal and not worthy of
Yes, Your Honor.
cognition?
They do.
It's still the same
The
hardline
same
award.
the
There's
same
no-
position of China on the arbitral award.
So why do you say that Vietnam sort of recognizes?
I guess I cannot speak on behalf of Vietnam, but there is a certain degree of recognition.
Yeah.
Um, but during further discussions. But there is recognition.
Yes, I believe so. I think in the ASEAN, they're all very respectful of the fact that a judgment was made and that it has to be recognized. Okay, the Philippines will be ASEAN's chair next year, and there are observations that I know that the secretary belies this, and we're all cognizant of the ASEAN way. But having said that, the reality is the Philippines is the outlier in its stance. Very close to its defense strategic partner, the US, whereas Indonesia and Vietnam are very careful to balance the two superpowers, and others are clearly much, much closer to China than they are with the United States. It's very hard to deny that the Philippines has drifted very close to the United States. So, can we allay the suspicions of our ASEAN neighbors in some way? We should be thinking, after all, about ASEAN centrality and what is good for the region, while others doubt our intentions, given the perceived or actual leaning towards the United States. So there's a level of suspicion we cannot deny, and they have been very forthright in Singapore, in Malaysia, and other countries about the dangers the Philippines will be bringing to the entire region by, in their words, volunteering to be the front line in the imminent um, war or violence between the two superpowers. What can we do to allay these fears?
Your Honor, what you just mentioned may be a perception.
It's not a perception. These are direct quotes from
Okay,
the heads of state.
direct quotes from certain perceptions. But what I just want to say, Your Honor, is that as the chair of ASEAN next year, we will be a good chair in the sense that issues such as this, like discussions, let's say,
Pero nag-iisa na tayo dyan.
no,
Wala
but,
na wala na tayong kasama sa mga kapitbahay. Kung barangay ASEAN yan, tayo na lang yung iisang kontrabida. Paano ba yan?
no, but what I'm trying to say, Your Honor, is that as the chair, like on many of these discussions, we will be acting as a chair. Is ASEAN centrality. In other words, the issues that concerns our bilateral matter with China is something that will remain bilateral, in the sense that we should be able to also act as the chair, and a number of
We are bringing trouble to the region.
okay,
That we are taking as a proxy the disagreeableness between China and the US to the ASEAN doorstep.
But given
Harsh, they have said that in fact the Philippines will be the Ukraine of Southeast Asia. And how do we respond to that? And how do we assure the rest of ASEAN that we aren't troublemakers?
well, Your Honor, in our discussions, even now that Malaysia is the chair of ASEAN, um, we've been very keen on the cooperative mechanisms that has been in the discussions. We do not block consensus. We're always part of the consensus. Um, and like, just for another example, is that, let's say, the issue of Myanmar, which will be definitely a discussion, and one of our responsibilities as ASEAN chair. We will always um, relate and coordinate with our ASEAN member states. So it is not that we will not be an outlier in specific issues, particularly as this chair of ASEAN. We will be very
I understand, but we're avoiding the elephant in the room. It's really the West Philippine Sea and the South China Sea, and many of our neighbors are deeply concerned, as well as the next topic, of course, inevitably the Taiwan Straits. So we have talked about this before. We've had a hearing about the One China policy. In case something happens in Taiwan, once again, I have to ask you by way of budget, um, the evacuation of so many Filipinos cannot be encompassed by your allocation of 1.26 billion. In the case of OFW's, jurisdiction over their concerns is supposed to be lodged with the DMW, not primarily with the DFA. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Will that hold true as well in Taiwan?
Yes, Your Honor. It will be DMW who will be in charge of evacuation or extraction of our
DMW has even less money than DFA for a massive evacuation initiative. I think the last time we tried to count, it was upwards of 220,000 unofficially. And who will be the lead agency? Kayo ba? Is it DFA, DMW, or DND? Kasi nag-volunteer din ang DND na tumulong sa mga barko ng Navy, na iilan lang naman. Sino ba ang lead niyan?
Your Honor, it's DMW.
DMW pa rin ang lead.
Yes, yes.
Um,
In fact, they said that
Pero
they're-
wala nga silang pera eh. Mas less pa nga yung pera nila kaysa sa inyo.
sabi po nila, hihingi daw po sila ng pera pa sa inyo.
Ang mahirap niya, nasa minority kami. No? Magiging insertion yan. Alam naman ninyo dito. Institutional amendment kung yung iba. Anyway, do we even have a very rough estimate of how much this massive evacuation costs? I understand that some. I think I requested this in the previous hearing that in fact, some of the Filipinos in Taiwan are married or have family there and may or may not evacuate. Pero yung iba nagtatrabaho, yung estudyante, yung iba nasa agricultural sector. Kung bibilangin natin at ikikwenta natin magkano pauwi,
Your
magkano
Honor,
kaya yun?
Your Honor, we have here some estimates.
Yeah, it's fine kahit
from
guesstimate pa. Pwede na rin.
4.5 billion pesos.
So that's how many are you counting?
Are
on the-
we're looking at 200,000 and this
Yes.
based on the Pinoys that will be evacuating. So this is the
Tama,
amount.
that's about the same number that I have. Yeah. Speaking of repatriation, what's the latest on Filipinos to be repatriated from the US? The ICE in the United States made very big statements in the beginning. And for us in Ilocos, for example, we were quite agitated because of the huge numbers of Filipinos in Hawaii, California, and elsewhere that were worried about having to come home and self-deporting. There are reports that at least 30 Filipino immigrants have already been deported as of 2025. Ito ba yung mga kaso or nasa kulungan? Ano nga ba to? Kasi parang yung media pa, iba-iba naman yung report.
Ang pagkakaalam ho namin ito yung may mga kaso.
May mga kaso, pero hindi
Yes.
pa kulong.
Hindi pa
May
hukulong.
kaso.
Yes.
Kung yung mga may kaso lang yan, who shouldered the cost of their repatriation? And did DFA pay?
When it comes to the people na pending pa yung case, it will be the US government
Kung pending.
kung pending.
Yung kulong, wala pang umuwi.
Can I request Your Honor to give it to our ASEC for Migration Affairs who knows
Okay,
this very well?
Asik Tago, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yung
Madam.
30, lahat yon may kaso.
Yung may kaso, ma'am.
Pero nakapinid ba yun? Talagang nasa kulungan ba yun o hindi?
Yung iba po, meron. Lahat yung nasa kulungan may kaso po. Yung self-deportation, ang DFA po ang nagbayad.
So, teka, yung 30 may kaso at nasa kulungan.
Opo.
Tapos,
Yung 42 na self-deportation, 27 men, 15, ang DFA po ang nag-provide ng 36,000 para sa airport airfare assistance.
so DFA,
Yeah, opo.
I see. So far yun lang. 30 plus 42, tama ba? Wala pa?
Yes, that's it actually.
Yes. How many more repatriations from the is the DFA expecting? Kasi nung una, ang lalaki ng numbers, no? Nasa 300 to 400,000 ang sinasabi. Pero wala nang balita mula nun. Takot na takot nga kami sa probinsya dahil napakaraming nag-migrate na sa US, na may papeles yung iba wala. Ano ba talaga yung tunay na numero kung sakali?
Madam Chair, yung nung una, totoo na panood din namin sa TV na yung estimate of undocumented Filipino sa US ay between 250 and 300,000 at risk of deportation. Pero ang nangyari naman po is that so far and after months, ang unang advice din ng embassies to all is for those who can legitimize to do so at yung mga feeling nila wala silang pathway to legitimize their stay, then to
That's
ask
right,
for,
but I don't believe that all 300,000 could have access to lawyer and legitimize the stay. So, ano kaya ang numero ngayon? Wala pa tayong alam. Kasi wala pang
No.
sinasabi.